In this video, we're going to see if we can get this old tractor to run for the first time in 30 years. So sit back and let's see what we're up against. Alright, so what we have here is a 1951 John Deere Model A. And like I said, it has not run in around 30 years. So the story I got from the guy I bought it from was, he bought it from the son of the original owner. The original owner apparently bought this thing brand new in 1951, and they used it on their farm locally until around the mid-90s, where the thing was running out in the field and it backfired and quit. And they put no time into trying to fix it because they just gotten a brand new tractor, so they wheeled it in the shed. And it sat there until about 6-7 years ago, when the guy I bought it from purchased it, and he really didn't do much with it. I mean, he may have messed with it a little bit here and there, but didn't really put any effort into trying to get it to run. So not really sure what we're up against here, but let's do a walk around here and we'll talk about the good and the bad. All right, so I mean, the good, we got battery cables. The bad, we got no terminals on the end, obviously no battery. This is a power troll unit, so that's John Deere's version of the hydraulic unit. So you've got, full up and full down here, right? And you've got variations in between. Back tires, they are weather checked, but plenty of tread on there and they're rock hard. So these things will go for a while, and they hold air, right? So let's just keep walking here. Let's see here. I mean, it appears that there may be a little hydraulic leak on the power troll there, but we'll get into that eventually. The brakes, they do work. Found that out when we took it on and off the trailer, that both sides work. Noticed this yesterday after I got it home. Someone had been apparently trying to get this wheel off because got all these hub bolts loosened up, and they've got a wedge that's literally wedged in there. I can't move it, so I'll have to address that before I try to move it anywhere. Good thing I noticed that before that popped loose. The clutch. She moves, it's disengaged, but she won't lock into place. Right? So what I did notice here is somebody had been monkeying with this. There's supposed to be cotter pins through all of these nuts, and as you can see, there's no cotter pin in there. So I'm not really sure what we got going on there. So we'll get into that eventually here. It does go into all the gears, so that feels good. It is missing this exhaust flange right here, but we have a fresh one right there. There's our generator. There's a new smokestack for the one that he bumped into when he was taken out of the barn one time, he said. PTO shield. Flywheel cover, and our clutch dust shield. So that's all down there, plus all the bolts for the PTO shield, or for the flywheel shield, are right there. Let's see. Taking a look in the radiator. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it's empty, and it appears from the sight and the smell that some sort of a furry creature made a home in there. So that's not too good. Also, the upper water pipe does have a hole in it, so I'm guessing the critters crawled in there, went up there, made a nest, and that's not good. Possible crack here on this flange, so that's not good. It's a distributor ignition, coils here. If anybody knows what this sort of farmer fix here is for, let me know. I haven't seen anything like that. It's connected to, this is the control for the radiator shutters, but I have no idea why it would be on the clip for the distributor. But pop open the distributor, if I can do that with one hand here. Got a cap, and all the bits and pieces are there. Now, if you look here, there's some points laying here on the thing here, covered in a bunch of soot. So somebody at some point did put some effort, and either they changed this at some point down the line that laid there, or after it quit, someone did actually try to make it run, but hard telling. We'll just set this all here for now. Spark plug wires are there, plug wires are there. Let's walk around to the other side here. Front tires are just about shot, but The guy did include some brand used tires in there, match and pair, that are a lot better than the ones that are on here. One size bigger, but that's okay. Carburetor appears to be all here, and it looks like somebody did put some effort into trying to clean it at one point. Throttle shaft is a little stuck. It does move, but it doesn't open and close all the way. It's got a sediment bowl. I looked in the gas tank. It doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty clean. A little bit of rust, but you know, nothing major. And the big question, is she seized? Well, the good news is she's not seized. She does turn over by hand. It feels like it's got compression, actually. I've got the plugs in there right now. But here's the issue. We got a hard stop. Now, some people might say, well, that's just a rust ring in there. I don't think so. It did have a bit of a rust ring in there because I did throw some Marvel Mystery Oil and some liquid wrench in there, and I got it through the rust ring, but this is a hard stop. Okay, that sounds to me like stuck valve maybe. I'm not sure if this is an interference engine or not, but that's hitting something solid. So it's either a valve is stuck out or there's something in there that's rock hard, which I don't know what would be, which doesn't make any sense. So it's probably a stuck valve. So we're going to have to address that right away. So really, before we address anything else, we're going to have to figure out what's going on with that valve, or, you know, whatever that is. So first thing I think I'm going to do here is, actually, first thing I'm going to do is pull that carburetor off, and we'll pull it completely apart and get it in the ultrasonic cleaner while we're messing around with other stuff. Then it'll give us a little bit more access to our valve cover here, so we can pull the valve cover off and see if the valves look like they're moving or stuck or whatever. So let me go ahead and get myself situated here, and then I will bring you back to address that. So stay tuned. All right, here we go. First thing we need to do is remove our choke shaft. Now, normally there's a cotter pin in there, but you can see someone's been in here before, and they looks like they took a piece of wire and they bent it up. So we'll just set that over here for safekeeping. Hook our choke shaft. Up here we have our throttle shaft. Whoop! There's normally a cotter pin through the bottom there, but somebody did not have one in there. So it's a good idea to have that cotter pin in there, because I had an instance on my AR where that popped out and the throttle ran wide open. It was fortunate enough I was close enough where I could run by and hit the kill switch right away, but that thing will run wide open on you if you do that. So that's not good. Okay, so those are free. Now we'll go ahead and we'll get our sorry, someone's coming up the driveway there. Oh, just the wife, no big deal. All right, got to get our fuel line off of our carburetor here. So we need an 11/16 and a ½ inch. Okay, it's a little snug, but not too bad. You can see someone was trying to take this apart at some point here. Just about off. Okay, what kind of treasures do we have down there? Oh, that is not good. Here, let me dump that out here. Oh, looks like, yep, someone was trying to get this nut off or tighten it, one of the two, and they snapped off the throat of the carburetor. So that is not good. I may have a spare carburetor I can use, but yeah, we're gonna have to go ahead and address that here in a little bit. But anyways, let's continue to get this carb off. Man, plenty of rust in this line here. I'll have to remember to flush that later. Okay, so over here we got 2 1/2-inch bolts right here holding it onto the intake side. So it's gonna help to actually use a little bit of a shorter 1/2-inch wrench here because you don't have much maneuvering space, but go ahead. Is that a 1/2 inch? Oh, it's actually a 9/16. One second, I'll be right back and get a 9/16. All right, here we go, 9/16. We'll start. Let's start at the bottom here. You're not gonna be able to get a socket on there. I can tell you that much. I've played that game before. So your best bet is a good old box end wrench. Now, I did go ahead yesterday when I brought this bad boy home and hit every nut and bolt and linkage and whatever else I could with some liquid wrench to try to help me out here today, and let it, hit it a couple times yesterday and let it sit overnight, and it's paying dividends because this stuff is actually coming out pretty easy for as long as this bad boy is set. But still Still a little bit putsy working on this thing here. And I'm going to go ahead and get a magnetic parts holder here. Stick her right there for now. All right, let's go ahead and get our top. Oh. Yep, that was a little bit more snug. Unfortunately, when John Deere designed these, they didn't necessarily have ergonomics in mind here, or, you know, ease of maneuvering it. I'm only getting about a quarter turn each time here, so it just takes a little bit of time. Well, I'll bring it back once I get that one off. 1 second. All right, I got that top bolt off. I got the bolt on the back side here off, and I got this one off. So now I'll go ahead and pull that carb out and see what kind of treasures this thing holds. Some sort of residue in there. Some sort of residue in there. All right, what do we got here? Oh, yeah. Oof. Well, that's unpleasant. Yeah, this thing has seen some water, that's for sure. Our throttle shaft is stuck there. Man, all right. Well, tell you what, let's take this over to the bench and we'll see just how bad it is. Let me set up on the bench here and I'll bring you right back. Stay tuned. All right, here's the deal, guys, and it's not good. This carburetor looks as if it sat with water in it for a long time. Everything is rusted. Was able to get the cap off here for where the needle and seat is. I mean, the float pivot rusted solid. I can see the needle moves in there. That's good at least, right? Yeah, I mean, just rust everywhere. I took this over to the garbage can and I banged it out, and just rust fell out. See, the choke shaft is bent. It does turn a little bit, but that thing must have been stuck and they reefed on it and it bent. So that's not good. I already showed you the throttle shaft, so that was stuck. Yeah, not good. And both of my needles, they're stuck solid. I've never seen that before, so that's good. So here's what I'm going to do. I ain't going to mess with this thing. I'm going to throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner for like a week and see what happens here. I'm going to use this bad boy here. I haven't actually used this one yet. I had the smaller version from Harbor Freight, so I just got the bigger version. But I'm going to throw that in there with some Simple Green and let her eat and see what happens while we attack the rest of it. Because no point in putting actual money into this unless I can get that engine to turn over. If I can get that engine to turn over, then we might be in business. But so let me just get this thing in the ultrasonic cleaner and we'll get back to the engine there. So stay tuned. All right, let's tackle that valve cover now that we got the thing in the ultrasonic cleaner. I turned it off because it would have been a hideous noise for you guys on camera here. But okay, so I've got to remove this vent here. This goes up to the intake, so it's like a breather. Then I got two bolts here. So another sign that there's been tampered here, right? So there's supposed to be this acorn nut on both sides. We got an acorn nut and we got a square nut. So yeah, acorn nut is going to be a 3/4. Let me see what this top one is. I'm not sure. That is also a 3/4, and that's going to be an adjustable. So I'm going to hop around to the other side here and see if we can't pop that bad boy off. Well, that came off pretty easy. Tell you what, liquid wrench is a beautiful thing, people. I don't care what lubricant you use. Any type of penetrant is going to be good, whether it be liquid wrench, PP Blaster, WD-40, whatever. Croyle's another good one. I know people argue back and forth, but I've used PP Blaster for years, and it is good stuff, until I saw a Project Farm video. If you're not familiar with him, I'd check him out, but he did a video on the best penetrants, and liquid wrench was tops, believe it or not. PP Blaster was a close second, but all of them did something, so that's the main thing. All right, acorn nut's about to come off. Pop him up in our parts holder here. Now we'll tackle that square. Oh yeah, that came out pretty easy too. Look at that. Looks like they put a washer on this side. No washer on the other side. Interesting. All right. Now, let's see if we can pop this valve cover up. I'm going to run and get a dead blow here quick. All right, now we'll give her a little tappy, 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 see what happens. Ooh, knocked my light. Move him out of the way. Ooh, we got budgage. Let's tap this side quick. Oh, she's moving. All right. Let's see if we can get that bad boy off without tearing the gasket. All right, off she comes. Well, gonna need a new gasket. Pull it right up. All right, let's get this thing out of here. There you go, valve cover gasket is off. All right, I'm gonna take you off the tripod and we'll take a look here. 1 second. All right. I mean, looks decent in there. No rust or anything, which is good, but there is quite a layer of sludge in there, so who knows the last time this thing's had an oil change, and like I said, the thing's sat for 30 years. So, I mean, nothing like glaringly obvious right here. All the rockers are in place. Does look like this push rod may be bent, so this may be our problem area here. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead around the other side and we'll rotate that engine and see if we see any of those valves moving or not. So, see if I can do this. Oop. Here, tell you what, I'm going to set you up on the tripod and then we'll get a good look here. 1 second. All right, I got you here on the opposite side here. It's about the best view I can get. You can see 3 out of the 4, but I'm going to go ahead and rotate that and we're going to just see if all those valves move. So, bear with me a second here. All right, let's see here. So this one is moving. I see this one moving. I do see this one moving. I actually see them all moving. All right, let me investigate a little bit further here and I'll bring you back. 1 second, see what we can see. Well guys, I'm just not seeing anything obvious here. So all the valves seem to be moving just as they should. I actually pulled out my plugs and I looked in there with a bore scope just to see what I could see. I can't really get it all the way in there, but I can see the pistons going back and forth on both sides, and I'm not seeing anything obvious that's making a hit, so it's making me think it's something down inside the crankcase here, which I'm not sure what that would be. So I went ahead and I got all the dirt and grime that I could off around these bolts here. So I'm going to take off this cover here. This is called the crankcase cover, I believe. Could be wrong. Let me know the correct answer there. But I'm going to go ahead and take these off, pop that off, and you should be able to see the pistons, you know, the rods, the backside, the bottom end of the engine down there, and I'll see if I can spot anything from this end. So, you know, maybe it's got a bent rod or something. Who knows? So let me go ahead and take a look down there, and I'll bring you back once I pop that cover off. So it looks like it's just a series of 9/16 bolts here. So hopefully, I hit them with blaster. So hopefully those will come off no problem, but we'll see. All right, stay tuned. All right, well, I think we found something here. Well, first of all, the cover actually came off pretty easily, and I managed to save the gasket. Yay! I'll probably still get a new one since I had it off anyways, but try not to knock any of that schmutz down there. But I went to go, I checked out the rods. They all actually look good and straight. And I went to go spin it, and I was looking over here, It's hard to see, but right here, there's a chunk of metal lodged in that valley of that gear right there. So, I don't know if I can show you on camera here too easily, but when I go and rotate this forward, boom, that chunk of metal is binding up on that gear there. So that gear comes up here to our governor housing and our fan shaft and all that stuff up here. So that was the culprit right there. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pry that chunk of metal out of there, and we will see if that does anything. So give me a few minutes and I'll pry that out of there. Stay tuned. Alright, well, I have some good news. I managed to get that thing pried out of there. I guess the slight bad news is I couldn't grab it out in one piece. I had to chip it out in little pieces, and each piece fell down inside the crankcase there. But I'm going to obviously change the oil here, so hopefully that comes out. Now, I don't know where it came from. I checked, I slowly turned over the engine here by hand, and I looked at all the gears coming off the flywheel there that are on the crank, and all the gears up here in the governor housing, and I'm not seeing any chips. So that only really leaves the gear on the other side that the clutch engages with. So I'm not sure where that came from, but I mean, you can see here, I have the plugs out so there's no compression, but turns over real nice and easy now. No hard spots, no nothing. So I think we're in pretty good shape. That dragging you're hearing is the clutch on the other side. Here, let me disengage that. Yeah, it's still dragging, but we'll need to address that down the road here. But I think the engine seems like it's in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and button all that back up for the time being, suck out all that crap so it doesn't go in there. And don't worry, before I do try to start this, I will drain the crankcase, because there's a big mixture. The previous owner said he put a mixture in the cylinders of ATF, PB blaster, diesel fuel, kerosene, whatever else you could think of, just to try to make sure that this thing stayed lubed up. So there's a plethora of mixtures down there. That crankcase will probably be clean actually once I turn it over here a bit. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get this button back up, and then we'll probably attack that clutch issue. So stay tuned, and I'll bring you back once we do that. All right, we're actually back a couple days later. Slight change of plans. I actually got to looking around on the internet for a carburetor, or a used one, and I happened to find one that's going to be shipped here. Should be here any day now. So I did soak that other carburetor in the ultrasonic cleaner there, but right now I actually have it soaking in evaporust, so I'm going to have a separate video on that, just seeing if we can actually revive that one. But in the meantime, I'm going to put one on there that I know works. So I buttoned up the valve cover, and I'm going to go ahead and drain out all of the oil that's in there, because we know it's all full of all kinds of stuff. Plus we got those metal chunks in the bottom. So I'm going to get that draining out, and then I'm going to work on the clutch here. But to drain it out, I've got a 5-gallon bucket here. This thing holds 2.75 gallons. I have no idea how much the previous owner put in there, so I hope it's not over 5 gallons, or else we're going to have a problem here. But anyways, I just have to pull out this drain. So here's where are we at here? Here's the filter, and then there's the drain plug. So I'm going to go ahead and crack that drain plug and drain this out. You don't really need to see that. You just got it's a square bolt, so you just got to take an adjustable wrench and hit that square bolt. It's actually a pipe plug, but anyways, I'm going to let that oil drain out for a good long while there. While it's doing that, I'm going to hop over there and work on the clutch. So let me get that draining, and I will bring you back when we're going to work on the clutch. Alright, here, I had to show you guys this. I pulled out my drain plug, and nothing came out but maybe half a cup of water, and then I stuck my finger up there and you felt nothing but sludge. So here I stuck this plug up in, or this piece of wood up in there, and there is a big layer of sludge at the bottom. I've heard about this happening, but I've never encountered it. But look, drain plug's out. I've only got out about 2 gallons of oil so far. And look at that, there's just sludge dripping out, and there's still plenty in the crankcase. So I'm going to continue to work on that, but I might be having to do a flush on this thing once it's out. So just give me a few minutes, and I'll bring you back with the results here. So stay tuned. All right, well, that oil draining is going to be more of a process than I thought. So like I said, there's that big layer of sludge in there. Well, all of the liquid drained out, and there was this much sludge still in the bottom. You could see the drain hole. Drain plug hole from up top there in the main case cover, and there was literally 2 inches of sludge still in there. So I tried, taking a long stick and reaching down there and sloshing it around. But ultimately, I put the oil plug back in, sprayed 2 cans of engine degreaser down there, and I put a 1.5 gallons of diesel down there. And I sloshed it around as best I could, and I'm going to leave that sit, and I'll slosh it around again, and hopefully that'll break up some of that sludge, and then it'll all drain out of there. Anyway, so now let's get to work on this clutch here. So, again, someone has been messing with this because the cotter pins are out, and these nuts were backed out almost all the way here. So someone was in here, and I don't really know why. So I'm going to go ahead and pull everything apart just so I can see what I can see. I do know it seems like there's a mouse nest back there. I see evidence of that. So we'll at least get it all cleaned out, but we're going to start pulling it off. So first thing we're going to do is remove these castle nuts. So they're just hand tight. Set those off to the side. I'm hoping this clutch is okay. I really don't know why they were in there, so we'll see. But and I'm also going to mark everything to make sure I put it back in the same way. I know there are supposed to be clock marks in some of the components in there, but I don't know if I'll be able to see them depending on how dirty it is. So we're just going to take a paint pen here and mark it all up. All right, so one more to go. About ready for a new glove, but that's okay. I'm not really on grease anymore. Come on. Oh, come on, you. And it's always fun going through these to see how much it's been tampered with. I was hoping this one was tampered with a lot less than what it was, but clearly people have been in there. All right, that one's off. Not much for threads left on there, so I may be replacing these bolts here, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to put a mark on here just on the top. Whoop! So I know that's near the top. All right, this should just slide right out. Yep. And then the disc came with it. So I'm going to lay this on the ground in the order that I took it out from. So let's just take a look at this disc quick. I mean, there is a bit of life left on it, so it might be good enough for testing purposes, but probably will be better off just replacing it. Since these are easy enough to take apart. Okay, I need a bolt here. Actually, we can take that off later. We'll go ahead and take off. Oh, almost forgot my marker. Almost forgot my own rule here, right? So I'm going to mark that spline there. I'm going to mark that right up there. Yeah, it's running, but I can always review the video to see, you know, where it was. Okay, so that's going to come off. I mean, that's not in terrible shape. It's a little rusty, but still has some life. Okay, we'll go ahead and lay that down. Go ahead and mark this guy. So I'm going to mark that hole, mark that there, so we know that one goes right back there. Okay, yep, evidence of mouse nest. There she be. All right, let's see here. I mean, there is a little bit of life left on this. We're not down to the rivets yet, but it's going to be getting close, so that should be replaced too. But again, we're just trying to see what's going on in here. Oh, what do we got here? We've got a mangled spring. Oh, okay. Here we go. That is this spring on here. You see that there's supposed to be 3 of them? Well, here's the one. Actually, that doesn't even look like the right spring. Either someone tried to cobble something together because it's a different diameter, or this one got like unsprung. So, okay, that's interesting. All right. Now I gotta go ahead and grab an impact so I can get this bad boy off. So let me go grab my impact and I'll be right back. All right, we got our impact. Let's see if we can get on here, and that actually came right out. So I'm guessing somebody's had this apart. Now we get to see what kind of shit these splines are in on here. So now this is a tapered spline here, so this probably, yeah, it's not going to pull off by itself. But I'll show you how to do that here in a second. But something to look for on here too is these splines to see if it's loose, if there's any gaps. But we actually look pretty good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get what I need to get this off, and I'll be right back. All right, so here's how this is supposed to work. Let me get you zoomed in a little bit more there. Yeah, okay. So yeah, like I said, there's supposed to be room for square nuts to go in there. Then when it goes down here, there's a square indent in the casting there for the nut to lock in. So I managed to do this with some regular nuts. So I got this tight. So basically using this as a puller, it's pushing against the inside of the clutch there, and it's going to pop off this disc here. Okay, so you just want to go a little bit at a time on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and take my extension off here, and we'll see how we do this. We'll just go. Hopefully we can do this without cracking anything. Oh, that one slipped. All right, let me go ahead and get that other one back in place where it's supposed to be. I'll bring you right back. 1 second. All right, here we go. Some more tension on this one. Oh, that one's starting to twist on me again. All right, let me try that again. 1 second. Well, we must have been close before, because as soon as I got that other one snugged up, I gave it a little bit of a crank, and she popped right out. See? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pull that guy out, lay him on the floor. Okay. And there's one more disc in here. I'm just gonna go ahead and leave that in here. So everything looks pretty good in here. Let me just go ahead and vacuum that out quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I mean, yes, there are worn components in here with the discs or anything, but I don't see any reason why that clutch won't snap into place based on what I'm seeing here. So I'm going to go ahead and reassemble. I should have showed you on camera, but I did take this cap off, and I squirted grease inside that bearing, because that bearing doesn't get greased very easily, and that's why they say when the tractor is sitting there like idling, you're supposed to have the clutch engaged with it out of gear to keep that spinning, to get some sort of oil splash on it, which a lot of people don't do. The way I hear it is that gets greased from the factory and it never gets greased again. So that probably hasn't seen grease in, since 1951 when this tractor was made. Anyways, okay. Now this, again, just for testing purposes, I really should replace all this, but I'm going to put it back together because it comes apart real easy, just because I want to see if I can get this clutch to actually snap in and engage. Okay, so I'm going to put it back together in the reverse order I took it apart. Okay, and again, I have all my markings there, so I'm going to put everything back in as it was. Oh, this thing's heavy and awkward. Okay, there we go. I can go ahead and put my bolt back in there. It is really good to see that spline is not worn in there, so that's good. Right, and again, it's a tapered spline. Oop, I gotta run and grab my impact. 1 second. All right, here we go. Okay, a couple Ooga-Doogas. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go see if I can't somehow straighten this spring out a little bit. You can see it did look like it was running with that spring like that, because there's wear marks on it. Let me just see if I can straighten this out a little bit in the vise. So 1 second. Well, I got it straightened a little bit and it broke. So I really bet you what happened is one of these springs broke back in the day, and someone put this spring in there because it was close-ish, and it just didn't work out and it spun out. But you know what? We're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. So just, again, for testing purposes, to see if I can get this thing to lock into place. Okay? So don't get on me. All right. Okay. This thing is heavy and awkward, so we'll see if we're able to get that spring back in where it's supposed to be. Yeah, I can see why this fell out. It's not easily put back in. Oh, you know what? Here, let's go ahead and put this. This will make it a little easier. Put this guy back on first. Come on. Is that right? Yeah, that is right. That's where it was. So now I'm told, well, I should have showed you while this was off, but these have to go on in a certain configuration because they are balanced with the crank. So there is a weight or like a protrusion on the casting on one side versus the other to help balance it evenly with the crank. So that's why it is important to get these on. So one of these times when I take it apart and I clean it up, we'll look for those marks, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and try to get this thing back on. Okay, so there we go. All right. Now let's get our nuts back on. Okay. Something tells me that one's not going to go on very well, but we'll see. All right, let's see, do I have the proper size socket here? Nope. I had to go grab the right socket, so stay tuned, I'll be right back. All right, I've got all these castle nuts started so that they're like just about flush with the end of the bolt on there. So now you wanna tighten these kind of evenly. So what I'm gonna do is kind of hold the clutch in the engaged position until I start feeling it bind. So I'm gonna go just like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, keep going. One. I'm starting to see the hole through the castle that goes through the bolt there that the cotter pin goes through. So I'm going to start getting close here pretty soon. So let me get this last one more turn. Not quite yet. We'll go again, one more turn. Come on. Well, something's still not quite right. Something's not moving as it should. Like it is actually engaged right now. I have it so tight, but it's not to the point where it wants to like pop out. Let me just try going out like half a turn at a time. Come on. It's engaged right now, so we'll go out another half a turn. Whoops. A turn. Okay, so it's not engaged with the clutch right now. Yeah, it doesn't want to snap. Why don't you want to snap? All right, well, looks like it's going to have to come apart again. So I'm going to go ahead and disassemble it, and we'll actually take off this part and pull out the entire pulley here. So I'll show you, I'll get this broken back down again, then I'll get it to the point where we're going to pull the pulley out, and I'll show you how to do that. So stay tuned. All right, we've got everything broken back down. I did notice these bolts. So that one's loose. That one is kind of loose. This one is pretty well seized. So those are supposed to move. So that's probably part of my problem here, but not the full problem, right? So, I mean, it could even be the full problem. I'm not overly familiar with how those are supposed to function, but I do know they are supposed to move. That's why they got these cotter pins in there, right? To keep them from sliding back too far and out too far. And I know they do get pressed out when the clutch tries to engage. So this could be the problem. So we still have to get the clutch off in order to get this bolt out properly, okay, and cleaned up and then put back in. So in order to get the clutch off, the only thing right now that's holding this in is the shifter here. There's a fork inside here. So basically we've got 1, 2, where are we at here? 3, 4 bolts, and this comes out. I also have to remove some of this linkage in order to get it out here too. So pick your poison here, right? Because a lot of times these are pretty well rusted in there, but this one looks like it's been worked on because the cotter pin is gone from the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and try to see if we can pry that up here. I did already, oh, there we go, it is loose. I hit it with some PB Blaster, or liquid wrench to try to get that out. So now we're going to take a pliers and see if we can, there you go, okay. That's loose. All right, so I'm going to set that to the side here. I'll set you back up on the tripod and we'll go ahead and pull out those 4 bolts and we'll slide that bad boy out and see what's going on here. So 1 second. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can get this thing off. So these are 9/16. Whoops. Actually came out pretty easy. Go ahead and set those off to the side. You're going to have to pivot this over a little bit to get to the back one here. Okay, that's loose. Let's see if I can get it out of there. There we go. And we just got the 2 bottom ones. Okay. Now there's a gasket behind this, so oh, it's going to fall right out. Whoop, there it goes. I was going to say, hopefully I don't destroy the gasket, but she's going to pop right out. All right, let's see here. There we go. She's out. Okay, here, let me move the camera back here so you guys can see what we got going on here. So yeah, basically, this engages with the back of the pulley there. Something to look for here is to make sure that this material right here isn't too thin. Thin being like paper thin. It's like over a 1/4 inch thick, so there's not really much wear on there. So that looks good. So this should be in good shape. Now we'll go ahead and we'll actually try to pull that pulley out. So it should now just slide right out, because there's nothing holding it in there. Oh, sure. Let's see here. Can't get it past the tire. Oh. All right, well, let me see if I can wrestle it out of there. 1 second. All right, here's what we got here, boys. It's all starting to make sense. I can't get that pulley off with the position that the tire's in because I can't slide it out far enough. Now, remember, earlier I showed you that over here, someone was trying to get that to move, right? So, and this clutch had no cotter pins in the nuts. It felt like this had been loosened up before, that had been loosened up before. So, somebody was trying to get this clutch off before, and they hit their roadblock right there, and they said, forget about it, and they put it back together, and here we are today. So it all makes sense here. So here's what I found inside here, right? You can still get to work on some things. Take a look at all these. I think these are called the dogs. They're supposed to move, right? Okay. When I first popped this, I mean, you can see there's rust everywhere in here. So this thing sat outside in the rain, no doubt in my mind, despite what people may have told me, okay? It had sat out in the rain. And there's a lot of moisture back there. So all of this stuff was seized up, okay? So I've been hitting it with penetrant and giving it a little bit of persuasion by tapping on the bottoms and the tops of these bolts here. And I've gotten things to move, okay? I did get that other, I don't know which one it is anymore because they all move pretty freely now, but I got the pins all freed up. But here's what I'm still seeing here. When I grab a hold of this, it doesn't spin freely inside of this center section right here. And that's the case with all 3 of those. So that's what I'm fighting right now, is trying to get those loose. So I'm going to keep hitting it with penetrant, keep giving it some persuasion. You don't want to hit this too hard because it is cast iron and you will crack it. But I am tapping on it with the hammer trying to break up that rust, and I keep hitting it with penetrant. So pretty confident I'm going to get it. So I'm just going to keep working on that for a little while, and then I'm going to come back at you and show you the results. So just stay tuned. All right, I think we've gotten somewhere, folks. So check this out. That now slides freely because this stuff all moves. Okay, so that fork I pulled out from the clutch lever sits in here, and you engage the clutch, and it pushes in this way, engaging the clutch, and then something locks into place there. So I'm pretty sure this is why we weren't able to get our clutch to engage. So I may have freed it up enough to get it to actually work. So we're going to put it all back together here and see if it actually works now. So I know it's not perfect, but I'm trying to learn as I go here, but I think that's what was going on here because this stuff didn't all move. And I can see, like, it felt like it was just binding when you push the clutch forward, like it should have went more. And I think it was because of this. So we're going to go ahead and put this back together and see if we can get our clutch to engage now. So stay tuned. All right, we're partway through the assembly process, and here I want to show you something. Remember earlier when I mentioned that there were markings here to make sure this was clocked the right way? So you can get a good look at it here. You see there's like a weight up here as compared to down here. And I mentioned that this was balanced with the crankshaft. Okay, well, look here. Hopefully you can see that. Right there on the left side of the screen, there's a notch in the end of the crankshaft, or like a V. And then if you look a little bit farther to the left, there's another V on that sprocket right there, on that gear right there, right? Those are supposed to be lined up. Look at where my yellow mark is up there. You can't really see it anymore because I've wiped it off, but my yellow mark on here and the yellow mark I made on the crankshaft were in different spots than this. So like the yellow mark should have been, you know, up here. Well, the V was pointed in a different direction. So this was assembled incorrectly. Someone just slapped it back together here, right? So that could have caused a problem down the road here for somebody, namely me when I tried to start this thing or run it for any period of time. I would not have run, it would have been, you know, kind of lumpier than a 2-cylinder already is. So I've got those lined up now, so those are in the right spot. So that is something you need to watch out for, okay? Good thing I remember to look at that, because shortly hereafter, if this clutch actually does engage, I'm going to try to start this thing a little while down the road here. So I caught that, so that is going back together the right way now. So something for everybody to learn here. Just because it was just because it was put together when you got it doesn't mean somebody put it together correctly. So now it's going to be put together correctly. All right, stay tuned as I'll get the rest of this assembled here. All right, fellers, we done something here. Okay. So I've got everything back together. I got my nuts just flush with the end of the bolts there. Before, when I'd pull my clutch lever back, I'd get to about right here, and it was like a hard stop. Right now, watch. Boom. I can actually feel it starting to snap right now. Okay? All right, so I'm going to set you in the tripod, and we're going to do this the right way here now. So give me just a second. I'll set you up. All right, here we go. So I got the clutch engaged. And I'm just going to go, I'm going to try half a turn at a time here right now, just since we're already getting a little bit of pop, okay? Come on. Get in there. Oh. Not much room between the, here, I got to go get a thinner socket. I'll be right back. 1 second. All right, I've gone a half a turn with everything. Still not getting a good snap in, so we're going to go another half a turn and see where we're at. Come on. Half a turn. Half a turn. Half a turn. Come on. Still not snapping yet, so we'll go again. Another half a turn. Half a turn. Half a turn. Half a turn. Not quite there. Still gotta go again. I'm really not surprised because that clutch is pretty worn, but it looks like there's enough where we should hopefully get some play here, or get some grab here. So just keep going half a turn. Okay, getting closer. Still not there. Oh, looks like this one might actually be stripped. Yeah, it's not climbing in like the other one, so let me... Yeah, we got a problem here, boys. You know, I was tightening up yesterday, so let me see if I can't switch out one of the nuts here quick and get one to grab. So stay tuned, I'll bring you right back. All right, so I actually went ahead and I swapped out this nut for that one, and I got them to tighten down. Okay, you can see they're tightened in. Yep, yep, yep. And here we go. Watch, listen, 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 listen. Pop, 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 pop. All right, so now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put it in a gear, right? Right, you don't see the crank turning? I mean, pulley's turning a little bit, it will drag, right? Okay, now we're gonna pop it in place. All right, crank's turning. So, our clutch is working. Yay! Again, a lot needs to be replaced, but this is for testing purposes to see if we can get this old thing to run and drive, okay? All right, I'm very happy with that. So now we need to address the rest of that sludge inside the crankcase there, see if we can't get that out here. So I've had it soaking overnight in diesel. I reached down there earlier and I started stirring it up a little bit. I'm going to stir it up a little bit more and we'll see if we can get that stuff to drain out. All right, so stay tuned for that. All right, guys, I don't know how much you're going to be able to see here, but that diesel mixture I threw in there did the trick. There's still some sludge at the bottom, but it's really just laying on the surface of that 2 inches that was in there. I reached in there with a stick and I just kept sloshing it around, mixing it up. And then pulled the drain plug, and the majority of it came out. There is just a small layer of stuff on the bottom there, but I'm not overly concerned with that. I think once I put the detergent oil in there, it'll help to break that up. So I think we're in good shape. Now we just need to pull off the canister for the oil filter, which is right here. So we just need a big wrench, loosen that up, pull that cap down, and the oil filter will come right out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will bring you back and we'll see what that filter looks like. Well, I was going to show you guys the filter, but can't do that because there wasn't one in there. That was just full of goop in there is all it was, just that same goop that was in the bottom of the crankcase. So, and a bit of water as well in the bottom. So, yeah, someone put this thing together without a filter in there and put a bunch of oil in there. I don't know what the heck is going on here, but yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get that cleaned up, get up in there cleaned up as best we can, and then we'll stick an actual filter in here and run it. I wonder how long it was run without a filter, or if it was ever run without a filter. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, the things you find here. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get that done, and then we'll throw some oil in here. All right, stay tuned. All right, one thing to note, too, hopefully you can see this, but up here in this little channel here, there is an O-ring that goes in there, and it's going to feel like metal if it's this old because it's all rock hard, but there is an O-ring in there that you're going to want to dig out with like either a pick or a small flathead screwdriver or something like that. But it's going to be about, I don't know, 1/8 inch thick, you know, square edge up in here. So there is one in here and it's really hard, so I'm going to work to get it out, and I'll show you what it looks like once I get at least portions of it out here. So I'm going to pick at this for a while and I'll bring you back once I get it out. There you go. See, I got it started. Go ahead and grab a chunk of it out. There it is. Whoop. Focus. There it is, right? All old and crusty and pretty hard. See, it's crumbling as I'm bending it. So that's what you got to dig out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and dig the rest of that out, and then we'll get to reinstalling an oil filter and a new gasket. So I'll bring you right back. All right, we got the rest of the gasket out actually in one piece here. So I actually got, instead of a John Deere filter, I actually got myself the Wix replacement because it's got the nice metal siding on it. They're really nice. There's a part number, 51242. It actually comes with 2 gaskets in there. So, because it's, you know, this filter works for multiple applications, so you want to find the one that works for you. So there's a bigger one and a smaller one. And from the looks of it, I don't remember, but it looks like the bigger one is the correct one. But you'll know, the smaller one won't fit in there quite right, or the bigger one won't fit in there quite right. So go ahead and see which one fits right for you. Don't forget to oil up that gasket before you put it in there to make sure it gets a nice good seal, and then we can pop our filter back up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will show you when I'm tightening up the cap again. All right, we got everything up in there. So make sure that you clean out this area here because there is a copper washer in there. That is your sealing surface, is your copper washer in there. So you don't want any debris in there. So now when you snug this thing up, you don't want to over tighten this because you can snap off the studs up inside the casting here. So just snug, little more than snug, we'll say. Don't horse it, okay? And then once you put oil in there, if it starts leaking, you just go a little bit more, okay? And it will stop leaking. If it doesn't, then you probably need a new copper washer. So you want to inspect that before you put oil in there. But this one seems like it's going to be okay, I think. So we'll go ahead and we'll drop some oil in here. So give me a minute and I'll get upstairs and we'll get the oil ready. Alright, so here's what we're going to use. So since this old girl's been neglected, I got nothing but the finest Blaine's Farm and Fleet SA 1540 heavy-duty diesel engine oil. Alright, and we're going to actually put some Lucas in there. So Lucas says you can put up to 20%, which I'm going to do in here because she's probably a bit worn out. So I'm going to, so that would be, so this, it holds 11 quarts, so that would be roughly 2.2 quarts would go in there. So then that means I need about half of this and about half of that to go in there. So I'm going to go ahead and dump that in our inspection hatch up top there, and that'll be a good starting point. Once we do get this thing started, assuming it starts, then we can go ahead and check the oil to make sure that it's at the proper level and top it off if need be. But that's what we're gonna do for a starting point. So you don't need to watch me do that. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I'll bring you back in a little bit. All right, oil's all in, and I just kind of switched the crank around a little bit to see if I can't get some stuff mixed up there. Anyways, now I think it's time to move on to electrical and see if anything on here works. So first thing I want to do is test out that starter and see if the starter does anything. So I mentioned the battery cables were snipped, so I don't know if this was positive ground or negative ground, so we're going to figure that out. Most of these came from, I shouldn't say most of them, all of these came from the factory positive ground, so we're just going to double check since, you know, this thing's been tampered with, just to see if it's positive or negative ground. Now you do that by looking at the coil, okay? You got two wires coming off the coil. One's going to go up to the ignition switch. One's going to go to the distributor, which is ground. The distributor's grounded, okay? So I've already taken this off. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not, but I took off the one wire. And in the back there, just above the protrusion sticking out from the coil there is a negative sign. So that wire right here, this negative, went up to the ignition. So that means the positive side goes to the ground. So that means this is a positive ground tractor, okay? So when setting up my battery terminals, I need to remember that. I need to put the positive to the ground, negative to the starter, or, you know, hot wire, wherever it goes to the starter, I guess. So that's the way I'm going to set this up. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together here quick. And I'm going to go over and put some battery terminals on and get a battery on this thing. So 1 second. Nope, I don't have a big battery handy, so I've just got this kind of rigged up on this lawnmower battery. We're just trying to see if we have any signs of life in that starter there, but it appears this may have been tampered with too, because I know I have the spring that goes under here, sits right there, over there, and this isn't even attached right here. So I'm going to find a little bolt to go through there and see if we get anything. I'm guessing I'm going to have to crawl down and pop that open and, you know, clean some stuff up in there, but we'll see what happens. So just give me a second, I'll find a bolt in there and we'll see if we can bring some thunder. Before I tackle the starter, just for fun, I want to see if this bad boy had spark. So I came over here and I noticed this connection was all rusty up here, so I went ahead and I cleaned that all up. My points, which are right here, were pretty corroded, so I took this little file here and I shined those up really good. Now, you turn the ignition switch. Watch this. Watch this. She has spark. Believe it or not, she has spark. So that means this stuff here is all working. What I should do, yeah, well, I could turn it over. I could hook up a spark plug and see if I have fire to the plug. So let me hook up a spark plug quick and see if I get spark down there. 1 second. I took a look at our cap here and I just looked at our contacts here and here, and they're pretty dirty, so you can hopefully see the top one there. I actually kind of cleaned off already, and the bottom one I haven't, just to see the difference there. So I'm going to go ahead and clean them both off to make sure that we're making good contact here. So 1 second. Alright guys, hopefully you can see this. So I've got the ignition switch on, and I'm going to just turn it over by hand. We'll see if we can get a spark to show up. Get her a little bit closer. Come on. All right, how about now? Nothing. Let me go see if that wire is in the distributor properly. 1 second. Okay, I tried it again, and I did get a spark. Let's see if I can get it capped. Oh, there it goes. See it? There it goes. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I can see it. All right, so we have spark to the plugs. Don't think I'll be able to see the other side, but we'll see what's going on here. 1 second. All right, I was going to dick around and try to get spark on the other side, but we're not going to do that. We need to get the starter going first. So here's what we did here. So I pulled off the inspection hatch on the cover, or on the starter down here. There's just 6 little 1/2-inch bolts holding this cover on here, and there's your starter. And as I suspected, she's packed full of mouse nests. I had the same issue on my AR. So I'm going to go ahead and get that mouse nest vacuumed out of there. Then we're going to work on dropping the starter. So you can see here, there's going to be 3, looks like 9/16 bolts maybe, holding the starter in place, and then it should drop back down, and there should be just the positive wire hooked up to it. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll bring you back once I got her dropped down. So 1 second. All right, well, I got my bolts loose. The nose of the starter was a little bit seasoned there, so I hit it with some PB Blaster, and then I just gently tapped around the housing there and around the nose cone, and I whacked it on the nose cone with a dead blow hammer. But you also have to undo your linkage up here. So there's a little pin that goes through there. This one was pretty well rusted. So I got the cotter pin out, hit it with some blaster, and I've been tapping it in. I've got it to move finally. Then you're also going to have to undo your battery connection right there. That's your hot wire for your battery. So because that's actually the negative, since this is a positive ground. I don't have a battery hooked up here, so I'm not going to short anything out. So don't worry about that. So once I get this linkage off, swing that arm out of the way, then I'll have to work on getting that nut off. And then I'll take this bad boy out and clean everything up and see if we actually can get it to spin. So let me work at this a little bit, and I'll bring you back if I get her out. All right, took a little persuasion, but we got her out. What I wound up doing is reaching up there with a swivel and a socket on my impact to get this off, because I was just bending this when I was torquing on it with the ratchet. But we got her out. So what we got going on here. Remember, up on the platform, there is a lever you step on. When you step on that platform, it pivots and it pulls up on a rod. The rod connects here, and it pushes in on this button, which completes the circuit here, right? So the power comes in here, and this is an open circuit. You push that in, and it completes the circuit, and that's what spins the starter. The starter grounds out on the chassis via right here, these bolts here, where it faces up. So hopefully this is all just dirty. Now, I have had to replace this switch before on my AR, so it's not uncommon, but it is probably corroded in there. So we hit it with some blaster. We're going to see if we can pop this thing loose. So, yeah, let me just work at that a little bit. I'm going to try to pop these screws out, and this should just lift right off, assuming I can get those screws out. But, yeah, let me work at that, and I will bring you back with what we've done. Actually, those screws came out really easy. The ones on my AR were pretty much stuck from all the mouse bits in there. But, okay, you can see there's a copper contact here. And then in here, you can see there's a switch, right? So this pushes and contacts itself right there, whereas this is resting against this contact here. So what I'm going to do is set up a battery here, and we're going to just bump the starter to see if the starter turns over. So let me get that set up, and I will show you how that works. So let's see here, 1 second. All right, this is definitely not the right way to do this. So I've got a booster on here. I've got one lead shorted out here, or on that side, and this one's going to go to ground. So let's see if we get some spinach. All right, so we got spinach, but I didn't see the Bendix pop out. So let me see if I can work that Bendix free, and I will bring you back. All right, so I hit the shaft there with some PB Blaster, and she moves. But here's what I discovered, right? The Bendix actually moves with that lever there. Stupid me, I didn't even think about that. So when you push so it's here, you step on the pedal, it pulls the rod up, engages the teeth with the flywheel, starter spins. You let it go, pushes it down, disengages the flywheel there. So that's how that works. So our starter works. We got good news. All right, let's slap that starter back in there. get everything back together, hook up a battery, and see if we can get it to spin over by hitting the pedal. All right, so let me throw that all back in there. And what I'm going to do here, though, too, is I'm going to clean up this surface in here to make that as clean as possible, and the surface inside the casting there. Put some dielectric grease on there. I do still have to clean this up, too, to make sure I can get that to work. So maybe I'll do that first, put it back on there, and make sure it works so you guys can see that. So let me do that. I'll bring you right back. All right, we got it pretty well cleaned up. I got the booster back on, so let's see if it actually works with the lever this time. There we go. Whoop. Yeah, I'll still clean it up a little bit better, but it's going to work. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit more, then we'll slap it back on the tractor here. All right, I'll bring you back once we got her back on the tractor. All right, we got our starter back in. I've got a battery hooked up, so let's hop up there and step on the pedal, see what we got going on. Tractor's in neutral. Clutch is disengaged. All right, let's see. Whoop. We got some shortage. Let me go see what that's all about. 1 second. All right, I think I got it sorted out now. My connection on the starter where my battery cable goes was a little bit too close to the frame there, so she was jumping and shorting. Let's try this again. Oh. All right, here we go. All right. Oh. Okay. I think the next thing we need to tackle is that new carburetor I got there. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get that boy cleaned out, and we may be able to hear some fire tonight. So 1 minute, and I'll set you up over on the bench. All right, boys, here we are. So here's the carburetor that I found online. It's the exact same model, DLTX71, that I have on this one. Now, this one looks like it's been through. So, just looking at this looks like it is an aftermarket throttle shaft. It looks like the butterfly in there is new. Looks like the screws are new. There's no like up and down slop. It does go in and out a little bit, but they'll do that. Choke side too. I don't know if that's necessarily new shaft. It might be, but the butterfly looks pretty darn good. Okay, so I think this thing's been gone through. Like he said, this was a core, but it looks like everything's here. Now, I know there's a float and a needle in there because when I have it open like this, I blow. And I turn it upside down and I blow. Oh, didn't work that time. There we go. I blow and it's sealed up. So we're going to pop this thing open anyways just to have a look-see inside and see what everything looks like. So we'll start by taking off the bowl here. Got this big nut. Be careful. Okay, there's a spring in there, and there is a gasket right here you want to save. And yeah, it even oh, that one's cracked, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Might seal up, but I'm not sure. So yeah, there's a gasket that goes around here. I mean, there's a little bit of rust in here, but it's not just too bad. Look down in the bowl here. Yeah, the float does pivot like it's supposed to. Let's pop this thing open just to take a look. Here we go. This is going to be 9/16 up here. Let's pop this open just to see how this thing looks in here. Obviously, this is your fuel inlet. Here is your... there's a gasket on here you want to try to save. Yeah, things have been replaced in here, I can tell. Right, so that's nice and shiny, so that's pretty new. And I obviously just showed you the needle and see it worked when I blew in there. Whoops, fumble. Looks like I'll have to take a measurement, but it looks like the float's set about the right height. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I'm just going to take a little bit of carb clean and spray down in there just to get any debris out. If there happens to be any, but it doesn't really look like there is any. So I'm going to go ahead and button this right back up because I think that's going to be okay. Hopefully I didn't booger up that gasket too much, but we'll see. That's no big deal. I can just make another one. Snug that bad boy back up. Okay. I'll spray out the bowl here a little bit too, I guess, to get any debris out. Okay, that's all okay. Might as well spray out the nut right away. I think that's okay. Spring looks okay. All right, so let's take a look at our needles here. So never mind what they're set at. We'll set them to good starting position when we're ready. But so this is our load side. Can't tell if those have been replaced. Yeah, I think those have been replaced. That one looks pretty good. All right, we'll put the load one down here. Oop, got my nut. And then we'll put the idle one up top side, just so we remember which one's which. And you guys remember, because I'll probably forget in a little while and have to review the video. Let's take a look at this idle needle once we get her out. That looks pretty good too. I'll go ahead and clean those off before I put them back in. All right, I'm gonna just leave my throttle and choke shaft alone because they seem like they're as they should be. I am gonna remove these passages though. So you'll see there's all these little brass plugs. So there's one right here, there's one, two there, there's one up here, one right there. And all of these look as though they're new, like they have never been taken back out. So something tells me this has all been replaced, but that doesn't necessarily mean they cleaned in there, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some screwdrivers here. I'm gonna try to pop these out. Yeah, that one came right out. Somebody's been in here, fellers. There's no doubt in my mind now. Somebody put a kid in here at some point. So just makes me wonder if this was taken off a junk tractor or what. All right, so we're gonna try to remember where we put all these. All right, so that one's coming out. Let's go ahead up here, take these guys out. I like to use a nice, sharp, short screwdriver. That way I get a good grip. Yeah, that came right out. So I'm going to try to lay these out in an order that I'll remember. So got that first one over here, second one over here, this one I'll put right next to it. Yeah. Most of the time, these are in there like really, really tight. A little bit of corrosion going on, and you'll get lucky if you don't, warp them out. But a lot of times you'll have to take a torch and hit them, and make sure torch and hit them just to heat them up a little bit, and then they'll a lot of times come out. But okay, so here's going to be the tough ones. I'm going to be able to get this one with my stubby guy here, the bigger of the two. With the smaller one, I may have to run and get a different screwdriver. Yeah, that's not going to fit. I'm going to run and get a different screwdriver. I'll be right back. All right, we got it. Let's see if we can get that one free. Yeah, we got her. Okay, now that we got those free, now we want to make sure that all these passages are clear. So you remove those because you need to be able to clean those, okay? So what I have here is a bunch of these long drill bits. And the idea is you take the biggest drill bit you can fit down there and try to drill it out by hand. So see, this one doesn't quite fit, so I go to the next size smaller. And this passage should go all the way down. Let me go grab a flashlight quick, 1 second. Here, one more thing I forgot. So down here, this is your bowl vent, okay? There's a passageway behind there that likes to get clogged up with stuff, with rust or whatever else. And when that happens, your bowl can't vent, and it'll make you think that your float has a hole in it because it'll airlock in there, and it won't let the float come all the way up and seal it off. So I take that out. They do sell replacement ones for that, but really the purpose of this little plug here is to keep fuel from splashing up in there if you're on like a really bumpy road or like on an incline or something, I've been told. And it'll keep fuel from splashing up in there and taking a gulp. It'll just, misfire a little bit. But I've removed that on my other A and on my AR, and I've never had an issue, okay? And never put it back in. So we're going to try to take a pick and see if we can't pick that bad boy out of there. Here, let's do this one. Oop, broke that pick. Let me see if I can't grab it with a screwdriver. 1 second. All right, we got her out. There's actually 2 of them in there. Just kind of worked at it with a screwdriver and a little hammer. Kept working. I got them out. But you can see there's a passage in there. And it is kind of rusty in there, so it'll be interesting to see if that is actually plugged up or not. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and do the cleaning cycle here. So, it's a good idea to look down in the holes, just to try to see which size bit you might need. So this one up here, I'm going to need my smaller bit, right? So fits down in there. And this, let's see, I believe, it's been a while since I've done one of these, so bear with me, guys. Yeah, that one looks like it goes all the way down in there. So you just want to, again, gently turn it by hand. Don't use an actual drill. Turn it by hand. You don't want to widen the hole. All you're doing is trying to get obstructions out of there, rust and whatever else. And then I normally take a little bit of brake clean or carb clean or whatever and spray through just to make sure. See, that one goes all the way down to the bottom. Make sure that we're clean down there. Now I also have, you know, a thin piece of spring here, right? This makes good, spring makes good on, yeah, that makes sense. The spring metal works good on here because it's real strong. It doesn't like to break off. And you can get down there real good. So let's see, we'll go ahead and squirt through there again. That's good. All right, so now let's check this one. This one is supposed to go all the way through, I believe. Let me just look in there again with the flashlight. Yep. There's a little, they call this one the secret passageway, so you're not going to be able to see it, but you look down in here and you can see you pull out the plug and there's a secret passageway that goes all the way through to this hole right here for the jet. And this one causes a lot of running issues, so you're definitely going to want to clear that one out. Yep, this one's going to need the wire, so we'll see. That one actually feels like it's plugged up. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I don't think I actually got through yet. Yeah, that one was plugged up. I could feel it. I just pushed some rust through that one. Let's hit it with a little bit of cleaner down there. And we'll poke it through again. Sorry, you guys can't see what I'm doing. Yeah, that one was plugged up, so that would have caused some issues. So it's a good thing I did this. Yeah, guys on tractor forms and stuff, they call that one the secret passageway because that one causes some running issues. So I think we got that one clear now. So let's go ahead and blast down. Yep, you can see I'm coming down here. And I had stuff coming out of here and here. Okay, go ahead and blast through there again. Yeah, we're clear. Good. Okay, so that one's cleared out. Let's try other ones over here. Let's see what those guys are doing. So I'm going to look down in there just to see what I see. That one's kind of tough. That one looks like it's going to use the bigger drill bit. Yep, that one comes all the way through here. And I can probably, yep, I can see my drill bit down through this hole. You guys can't see it, but I can. So that one went all the way. And then it kind of makes like a little 90-degree here. And then there's another hole right here. I know. Think of some guy designing this and working on this 70 years ago. It's pretty amazing, actually, if you think about it. Okay, check this one out. I think that one's okay. So now I should... Whoop. Yep. So I plug this hole up here. So yeah, this passageway goes all the way through here, up here, and out here. So I plug this one, and I squirt in this one, and I get cleaner out the other side. So that's good. Okay. What else? All right, we got to do our little guy up here. Let's see what our little guy looks like. That one looks like it's going to be our medium-sized. Oops. Nope, it's going to be our small size. Where'd I put that now? There she is. I'd be lying if I told you where that one went, but I think that one's okay. So let's go ahead and squirt down in there. See what comes out of where. Ah, okay. So that one goes all the way through to these right here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that's clear. What else we got here? We got a couple in there. Let's check out our bowl vent here. See what that one's doing. Let's just blast some carb clean through there. Yeah, see that one comes out right here, and I did see a water rust come out Oops, you can't see that as I did that one. So that is now clear. And then, if I remember correctly, there are some smaller ones. Is it in this side or that side? Can't quite remember. Here, let me investigate here, and I'll bring you back in a second. All right. So there are 4 very, very, very small passageways right down in here. You're not really going to be able to see those on video, but that's where this little guy comes into play. I've got this 90-degree angle on there, and you just want to poke through those, and they go through to this thing and to this whole thing right there. So once you poke through, you'll see it down. You'll see the end of this down in that passageway down there. So you want to make sure those are clear too. So those are all good. Only other thing I didn't blow out yet is our emulsion tube. Now that does come out, but we're just going to see if it seems like it's clear or not. That is a tough one to get out there. Normally what you have to do is you can take an easy out and put it down there and pull it out, or people will tap and thread that and use like a piece of rod and like pull it out with a slide hammer, but it looks like it's pretty well in there. You can sometimes try and push it out with a screwdriver like this. Oh, it's actually coming. Might be able to get it out. 1 second. All right, hold on. Let me get that bad boy out and we'll take a look. Yeah, I couldn't get it out. I don't have my easy out set handy, so I think it's fine. I blew carb clean and brake clean through the whole thing there. I think it's going to be fine, okay? Because really there wasn't much else in this carb. Might come back to bite me, but if this thing's not going to run, I guess it's not because of that. All right, then the last thing I do is I take compressed air and I blow it through all the passageways just to make sure that everything is as clean as we can get it. So I think we're in good shape here, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and put everything back the way it was. So I'm going to, let's see. This is the load, this is the idle. Yeah, so I think I misspoke before. This is actually the idle side, the other side is the load side. So I'm just going to go ahead and screw these all the way in, and then we'll go for an initial setting once I get everything back together. I have to look up what that is. That's why I can't tell you right now. I think it's like 2 turns and 1.5 turn, but I can't remember which is which. So I'm going to have to look that up quick, and then I'll let you know once I get there. So you turn these in just until they're like lightly seated on the bottom. You don't want to force them because you can change the shape of these tips on here, so that wouldn't be good. So I'm going to go ahead and screw all those bad boys back in. And then I'm going to go ahead and put all my plugs and everything else back in. So you don't need to watch me do that. You saw me take them out. It's going to go in just about the same way. I'll bring you back once we're going to make our adjustments and go over to the tractor. So stay tuned, and I'll bring you back once we're doing that. All right, guys, couple things here. So got the carb back on, got my fuel lines in place. So what I did is I took compressed air and I blew it up. Well, first of all, I took off the sediment bowl. There's still some sludge, like really, really rock hard sludge stuck in the bottom there, so that'll take a little bit of doing to get out. But I took compressed air and blew it up through the line when it wasn't attached here, made sure there's no obstruction, put the sediment bowl back on, and then blew through again to make sure that it would blow up through the gas tank. And again, the gas tank looks pretty good. There's a little bit of flaky stuff in the bottom, so hopefully that doesn't plug us up, but we should be okay. Get everything hooked up back here. I did make myself a gasket here for this end here. Something to note too, make sure you put this bolt in for the intake side back on before you put your bowl on, because you can't get it on with the bowl on, so you'll be an unhappy panda that happens, okay? So I've already adjusted my needle on this side, but I'll show you how to do the other side. So actually, yeah, you can see it from here, right? So this, whoops. Oh no, I already did that side. Well, we'll just redo it. I can't remember. All right, so that side is the load side. So it's lightly seated. That one comes out 1 full turn right here, okay? This one, the idle side, comes out 1.5 turns. So lightly seated right here, comes out 1/2, 1.5. Now that's a good starting setting for this, okay? Oh, almost forgot. I'm going to put new plug wires on this quick because the ones that are on there are not in the greatest of shape. So we're going to try some new plug wires and see if that helps out right away. So let me go get those swapped out and I'll bring you back. All right, we got our new spark plugs on. We dumped gas in. Got our battery hooked up. We've got everything ready to go. Fuel's on, nothing's leaking. So what do you say we hop up there and see if we can make this thing make some noise for the first time in 30 or so years. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, fuel is on. A couple gallons of fuel in there. All right, I think everything is as it should be. All right, so we got full chokage, partial throttle. I'm gonna go ahead and put my fuel cap back on. We're giving it a little bit of choke, just a little. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. Oh, ignition switch. Need that. Nothing. All right, let me go ahead and check spark. You know, I didn't change out the spark plugs, so those may be fouled. So why don't I go ahead and throw some freshies in quick and we'll check that. 1 second. All right, we've got spark at the points. I put in fresh plugs. Let's see if we can try that again. All right, ignition switch on. Try no choke. I think I need a booster. Let me go grab a booster quick and I'll bring you back. All right, booster engaged. Let's try her again. Fuel's on. All right, let's see what we get. Try a little shot of ether down the yap. Getting smoke, but I think that's just from what's in the cylinder. A little bit of ether. All right, let's try that again. Nothing. Gonna have to check the spark at the plugs. Well, if I got a sticky float, I see that right now. So let me get that sticky float figured out. All right, we have a spark to the plugs and everything. I just realized my lever for my throttle popped off here, so I was at full closed throttle. So let's try her about halfway here, and we'll see what we get. Now we'll do it from the ground because we know we're in neutral. All right, ignition switch on. Let's go. Try turning our fuel on once. Granted, it's probably going to flood out right away, but we'll see. I think my booster's dead. Try it. Let me check it one more time, quick. Yeah, she died. It's getting hot. Try it one more. All right, here we go. Yeah. Booster's dead and battery's dead, and I got a sticky float. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and shut the fuel off, get the battery up to full charge, get my booster up to full charge, figure out that choke situation, and we'll come back tomorrow. So I think we're getting close. I'm getting poofs of smoke. We've got spark, we've got compression. We should have air, so I don't know what else we need to make this thing run, but we'll check it in again tomorrow. All right, and we're back. So I've actually decided what we're going to do is we're going to check timing on this thing just to make sure, just for peace of mind, since we know that just about everything else on here has been messed with in some way, shape, or form. We're going to check the timing. So how you do that? You need to get number one cylinder on top dead center. So this side, the left side, is the number one cylinder on one of these John Deeres, okay? So I don't know if I'll be able to do this with two hands, or with just my hands, but you have to figure out where the compression stroke is, okay? So you're gonna turn it over so you feel the whoosh coming out of this thing. Right there, I feel a whoosh, okay? So now you need to take a wire, stick it in the spark plug hole to try to feel the piston, okay? Hold on, I'm gonna set you up on the tripod and show you how to do this. 1 second. All right, here we are. So I'll show you this with two hands now, right? So I'm feeling the whoosh here, right? So that means I'm on the compression stroke, okay? So now you want to take your wire, make sure you don't have too much debris on it, stick it in your spark plug hole, and you're trying to make the piston go to top dead center, so when it's peaked out, so you can feel it in there. Let me just get myself situated. Okay. Feel it going down. I feel it coming back up. Feel it going down, coming back up. Okay, so I'm right at about the top there. Now I'll take you off the tripod. I'll show you the markings on the flywheel here, right? You see some literature, right? We got left hand exhaust open. We've got left hand impulse. Left hand impulse means we're supposed to be firing when we're at top dead center, okay? So there is a dot right here that is going to line up with this mark on the casting here, right? So if we look here, we're going to get those two to line up. So now it's going to be hard to see here, but we're pretty well lined up, so that means we are at top dead center on the compression stroke on the left-hand cylinder, okay? I'm going to take you around to the other side here quick, 1 second, and I'll show you what to check. Okay, now we're over here at the distributor, and we're going to pop our cap off. And what you should be seeing, uh-oh, I see the problem already. So the top right here is supposed to be number one. This plug wire runs over to the number one cylinder, okay? So that means we're supposed to be getting spark when this cylinder is at top dead center, meaning that this this contact on the button here should be pointing up towards where number one would be. Well, it's not. It's pointing down to number two. So that means this thing is timed 180 out. Okay? So that's part of the reason why we're not starting. So we're going to go ahead and time this thing the way it's supposed to. So I'm actually going to pull my distributor off. So I got to loosen up that bolt there, and there's another one on the bottom. I'm going to pull it off, and right now you should see there's a slot in there that the distributor rides in on our governor gear there, and that should be sideways, meaning that the distributor should ride in that, and that would point the button up towards number one here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that off, and we'll see what we see. So 1 second. Well, the plot thickens. So these notches in here are supposed to be completely horizontal when we're at top dead center. I'm just going to double check to make sure I'm at top dead center again, but it's looking like we've got another problem here. So let me go ahead and check that 1 more second. Okay, I double checked my top dead center, and I did make a boo-boo here. That's not the mark. This right here is the mark, right in the middle of this left-hand impulse thing. So now, whoop, that is lined up. The dot is lined up with the dash, okay? Now let's go back and look at our distributor. So you can see we're still off a little bit. That should be horizontal, so it's almost like it jumped timing one tooth here or something, okay? So I'm probably gonna have to crack open that governor there and see what that looks like on the other side. So just give me 1 second and I'm gonna do that. Well, here, I'll walk over and show you what I have to do, but basically there's just these 4 bolts I need to pull off and open it up, and I believe there's a spring behind there, so you gotta be careful. But I'm gonna pop off those bolts and we'll see what we got. All right, well, here's what we found. We pulled off the cover, and as you can see, that's not good. That bearing is shot. See if I can find it here. There is, where's the mark? Hard to see here, but there is a V right there, right here. That's supposed to be pointing to a V in the gear coming off of the, I guess that's the camshaft gear down here. I can't really see. There's so much corrosion on the gear I can't tell. So what I'm going to try to do is pull out this governor gear and see if I can read off on the cam gear where that V is. So I'm going to pull this governor gear out, try to clean up that surface and find where that V is, and then we'll see where we were at. So give me a second here. All right, well, I'm not going to be able to pull this out. There's a fork in there that holds onto it like this, and I can't get it in the proper spot in order to be able to pull it out, so it's going to stay in there. But I went ahead, looked online, and I found this bearing. I got it ordered for about 40 to 45 bucks. Should be delivered in a couple days, but I need to work on getting this apart. So I need to get this off. I guess that's the race off of this shaft here, which looks like I'm going to have to cut it off because I don't know that I'm going to be able to get a puller or anything on there. So I'm going to work on getting that cut off, and I've got to get the bearing housing here pulled out so I can get this thing cleaned up. So yeah, that's what we're going to work on next. So first off, I'm going to work on getting this bearing housing out of here, and then I'm going to put this in the ultrasonic cleaner and get that all cleaned up here. So let's take you over to the bench and we'll see what we have to do to get this bearing housing out here. So 1 second. All right, so I've got our bearings dumped out here, the ball bearings dumped out and the cage dumped out. So I need to get this portion out of here. Now, I don't really see a good way to get down there with a puller or anything like that, so I think I'm going to have to resort to using a punch to try to damage it in and then pry it out. So I'm going to get to work on that, just hammering in here, between here with a punch with a pointed tip, and see if I can't drive that thing in here and pop it up. If somebody has a better way of doing this than what I'm doing it, please let me know. I'd love to learn a better way, but this is the best way that I have with my tooling available right now. So you got to work with what you got, right? So here we go. All right, well, we got her out. I tried pounding on the edge of the retainer and the casting here, and I wasn't doing any good. This is actually a hardened material. I thought it might have been brass at first, but it's not. It's rock hard. So what I wound up doing is taking my Dremel tool on an angle down here, and I cut a slit inside that retainer. And then I took my punch here and wedged it under an edge on the bottom, flipped it over, and gave her a couple whacks with the dead blow hammer, and I actually got that thing to budge up to a certain point. I got it so that there's a little bit more than an 1/8 inch sticking out of the top, and then I took it and I put it in the vise there and gripped it, and I crushed it, and it broke off a chunk. Then I turned it 90 degrees and did the same thing, and it broke it again, and it broke it right out. So now we're clear here. So what I'm going to do is throw this thing in the ultrasonic cleaner for a good half hour to let it clean out some of this oil residue while I get over there and start working on cutting off the race over there. So let me get this thing in the ultrasonic, and then we'll hop over on the tractor there, and I'm going to use my Dremel tool to try to cut a slit in that as well. So stay tuned. All right, so here we are. I'm going to take my Dremel tool right here, right there, and cut a slit right down in there. And that way I should be able to pop that thing open. It might just release right away from getting that slit in there, but putting that slit in there, it'll allow me to drive down in there with a chisel or something to spread that apart, and this thing should pop right out. So I'll cut the slit in there, show you what the slit looks like, and then we'll see if we can get that bad boy out. So give me a minute or two, and we will bring you back. All right, we got that slit cut in there, and it actually, well, you can't see it now, but it actually slid out on me real easy so far. So I'm going to take my chisel and try to knock it out the rest of the way there. So just cutting that slit relieved the pressure on there, and got it in a position where I could pull it out. So let's see if I can take my chisel and hammer now and get that thing moving. I can't take a file because there's actually more room than my chisel can use. Yep, there you can see it's starting to move. Oops, she's coming. She's almost off. Come on. There we go. Oop, let's see, she's on the other side. Okay. And yeah, I cut into the shaft a little bit with the Dremel, but just slightly. So we're in pretty good shape. All right, I'll go ahead and take a wire wheel and clean that up. And then when a new bearing comes, we'll install that race on there, and we'll be in good shape. All right, so I'm letting that thing clean the ultrasonic cleaner. Let's tackle one more thing before we have to shut her down today, and I'll show you what that is. So just one second. All right, here's what we got. We got a brand new internally resisted coil. We got brand new plug wires that are copper core, solid core, and we got a new cap because all of those were in need of replacement probably. I mean, this coil looks pretty crusty. Like I said, it was giving spark and everything, but it didn't seem like it was as strong as what it could be. So we also give it new wires, and this cap actually is a little broken right here, and it was pretty crusty inside, not in here, but like inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and hang on to it as a good spare, but I figured it might not be a bad idea just for the ignition system's sake to get all this stuff replaced. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Really, just put it back together the same way you took it apart. Remember your top wire here, that's number one. That goes over to the left side or the flywheel side of the tractor. Bottom one goes over to this side of the tractor. That's kind of all there is to it. And then on the coil itself, you got to look for the plus and the minus on the coil there. And there's, if you can see that, a plus right here and a minus over here. So you just take off the wires and put them back on the same way that they were before. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you once it's complete. All right, we've got everything together. I can't test it, obviously, because I still got this in pieces up here. So I think it's going to work just fine, right? So everything is as it should be. Can't really do anything now until I get that bearing in, and then we'll put this thing together and hopefully make this thing make some noise. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and pull my end cap out of the ultrasonic cleaner over there and see how well it cleaned up. So let me bring you over there and we'll take a look. All right, at first glance, it looks pretty good in there. There was a lot of built-up sludge and like around this portion here and this portion here, and it looks like a lot of that came right out. So it's hard to see here with the glare, but we'll take it over to the workbench and spray it out once and see what it looks like. So just give me a second. All right, here we go. I just sprayed it out with a little bit of brake clean here. It did a really good job. I mean, like I said, this was really caked with like old, like built-up sludgy oil, and it was like really hard like a paste, and it broke it up pretty good with just that half-hour treatment with the ultrasonic cleaner, you know, on the heat feature there. So I like it. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and spray this with a little bit of protectant just to keep it from rusting while we're waiting for our part to come in. But we're basically on hold now until that bearing comes in. So I will bring you back in a day or two once that bearing comes in. So yeah, I'll bring you right back. All right, guys, we're back about, I don't know, a week later. A new bearing came, so everything appears to be about the right size. When you hold this here and line it up there, that looks good. This all looks about the same size as that cage there. I already held, well, let's see, where's the old one? Oh, I don't have it handy at the moment. Oh, yep, there it is. You know, these all seem the same size. Holes there all seem to line up, so everything's good. So first thing I'm going to do is pound this one back in. So I've got myself a seal driver here. Pick one out that's as big or a little bit bigger than the seal itself here. So I'm going to go ahead and okay, I'm going to find one that's a little bit smaller, I think. Yeah, we'll try that one. Switch this one out. I think I'm all the way driven in, but I just want to make sure because we want our alignment to be good here. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. We need it to go that way. All right, give her a few love taps here just to make sure we're driven in all the way. Yeah, looks like we're all driven home there. That's good. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead over to the tractor and drive this bad boy on the shaft over there for the governor. So I'm going to slide this thing on there, and then I'm going to use this to help pound it on the rest of the way. That way I'm not pounding right on this race here. So I'm going to go set up over there and get that done, and then I'll bring you back. All right, I went ahead and I drove my race on there. I greased up my bearing, my balls, and everything here just to make sure that it has a good coating. Now, that is supposed to get oil from it slinging up there, but it may not. You know, you saw it was pretty dry. So I want to make sure it has some grease on there at least to begin with here, so it's not completely dry. All right, so I still have my flywheel and my engine here at top dead center on the left-hand side here. And I've got to have, I don't know if you can see the nut, but there's the notch right there. That's supposed to be facing straight down. There is supposed to be, again, a notch on the cam gear there, but you can't see it. So now we want to go over and check our slot where our distributor goes to make sure it's horizontal, okay? All right, so you can see that slot is now horizontal, whereas before it was at, I believe it was an angle like that, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead back over here and put my cover back on my governor here. I slid the bearing cage on here, so I think that's going to be the easiest way for me to get it on without dropping it, you know, putting on the cover here. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt that up, and then I'll show you how to time the distributor. So just give me a minute, and I'll bring you back. All right, we've got everything secured on the other side. I should mention, don't forget your gasket on the other side too, or else you're probably going to have an oil leak. All right, so what we need to do here is, so again, our slot is horizontal. We want to take our distributor and make sure that our horizontal, or our notches on the distributor are lined up horizontally there. And we want to have our button pointed up, okay? So that is going to set us up for the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt that on so that our slot is in here and our button is pointed up, all right? So let me get that bolted in and I'll show you what we have to do next. So stay tuned. All right, guys, we got everything back together here. So now what we want to do is we want to rotate our distributor forward just a hair, and we want to hook up our number 1 spark plug wire to a spark plug and find a good clean spot on the ground, or on the chassis here, which I'm trying to accomplish here, and turn the ignition switch on. And what you want to do is rotate the distributor back this way until you see a spark right there. That means it'll spark when the cylinder is at top dead center, okay? So we're going to rotate this back. Hopefully we can see this here. Nope, probably don't have a good ground here. I had it working just a second ago for testing purposes. Let's see, ignition switch on. All right, let's try this again. Hard to do it. There we go. Nope, I saw it once. Oop, there's again. Okay, so you can see that. So what you want to do is play with that. I'm going to do it off camera with 2 hands here, but you want to find that sweet spot where that creates that spark, and then you want to lock it in by tightening that bolt up there and that bolt underneath there. And then we should be ready for a test fire. So let me see if I can get that dialed in, and I will bring you back. All right, guys, I think I have everything back together. I got my fuel on, got my spark plugs in. I've got the right plug wires on the right side. So let's see what happens. You think we can make some noise? We'll see what happens. I'm going to give it a little bit of ether right down the yap right off the bat just to see if we get anything going on here. But choke on, fuel on, ignition on, in neutral. All right, here we go. put our cover back on our engine cover, so I'm getting sprayed with oil. Let me do that, and then we will come back again. Hold on 1 second. All right, let's try that again. Out of battery power. Let me run and get my booster. I want to hear it run one more time for the night. 1 second. All right, booster engaged. Here we go. Ignition on. It says we have oil pressure. Look at that, low idle just on initial settings. All right, we're gonna shut her off. I don't have coolant in it, so I don't want it to get too hot, but that is so cool. John Deere A running for the first time in at least 30 years from what we know about. That is so cool. All right, don't have time for it tonight, but I'm gonna bring you back after I'm done with my vacation coming up here the next week, and we'll see if this thing moves on its own. Okay, oh, that is so cool. So good to hear that sound. So I'll bring you back and we'll test out the rest of it. So stay tuned. Alrighty, folks, we're back from vacation. So let's get back to work on the A. What we're going to do today is we're going to start it up, see if we can't get it to drive out on its own for the first time in who knows how many years, 30 plus years, right? And then I want to try to flush out this radiator, see if it actually holds any fluid or not. But what I just discovered as I was poking around here is right here is the drain hole for the radiator, and someone already pulled out the drain cock, and it's packed full of stuff in there. So I'm gonna take it outside. We're gonna poke around in there to try to get whatever we can to fall out. Then we're gonna take a hose and try to flush out the radiator. So that's what we're gonna do. So first of all, let me get everything on here, and we'll hop up on the platform, and we'll see if we can't get her to fire up and drive out on her own. So give me a second, and I'll do that. All right, here we go. We got the fuel on, got her in first gear. Pull the choke, turn on the ignition switch, and give her a stomp. She's trying to go. Hold on a second. All right, let's try that again. Oh, the clutch doesn't want to get disengaged. Let me see what's going on with that. 1 second. right, well, as you can see, it drove out under its own power. The clutch is still having issues. Something's still not right in there. I know everything needs to be replaced. I feel like I didn't put the cotter pins back in the three adjusting bolts, and I feel like the threads on those nuts are not what they should be, so they're popping out, so it's causing the clutch to bind a little bit. But we're going to replace all that, so it doesn't much matter. I'm just trying to get it out here for cleanup purposes. So anyways, as I said here, this thing is packed full of goo, so I've been I don't know if you can see it down there, I've been working this thing for a bit, and more and more and more and more and more stuff keeps falling out of here. So I'm going to take my garden hose and run it up through the top there, see if I can't flush this thing out and keep working it out. So I'm going to bring you back once we see something here. So give me a minute. Oh guys, there's just a ton of stuff in there. We got rust, we got acorns, we got everything you can imagine, probably some carcasses. Every time I stick my finger up in here, switch it around, I feel more rust. You see more chunks come out. So I'm just keep working at this a while until nothing else comes out here. So just give me a little bit of time and I'll bring you back once that's done. Man guys, it just keeps coming. A big old mouse nest just came out of there too. Here's a portion of it right there, and more rust. Look at that. The more I poke around, the more rust comes out. All right, water is getting clearer now, but yep, I can still feel there's a whole bunch of crap in there. So we're gonna keep trugging, and we'll see what happens once it clears up. All right, well, I think I got the majority of the big chunks out. So what I've done here is I've just stuck a bolt plug up in the plug there, and I'm trying to fill this thing up as much as I can just to look for leaks, and I think I found some bad news. So let's walk over here. I mentioned in an earlier video, or earlier portion of the video, that I thought this looked like it was cracked, and yeah, you can see water flowing out of this thing here, so that is cracked. So this is going to have to come off, and I'll have to see if I can find a replacement or see if I can repair it or whatever I got to do. So that is definitely not good news. Let's see, other than that, let's look around to the other side. It looks like there's water flowing this direction. Let's see what we see on the other side. Oh yeah, look at, there's a crack here all the way through, so this thing's probably junk. Oop, we filled it up to the point of that right now. So yeah, this flange here, manifold, what do you want to call it, is shot. So I'm going to have to find a replacement. Let's see, what else? It's hard to tell. I'm trying to determine whether this radiator's leaking or not. I'm getting some drippage here, but I don't know if it's just from, you know, splashing around here. So I could put like a more gradual flow in there and see if that is the case or not. So why don't I try that, and I'll get back to you. I just pulled the bolt plug and some mouse poison came out. So there's more stuff up in here I haven't gotten to yet. I have a feeling it's up towards the top of this pipe here. So I'm going to try to get that thing filled up and get that stuff flowing down as best I can. Again, still hard to tell if it's leaking up top here or not. I suspect that it is at the very top, just because I'm seeing continual drippage here, but it's hard to say. I'll keep investigating and I'll bring you back with what I find out. All right, I think I finally got all the rust to stop coming out. There was a lot of stuff in there, lots of chunks, okay? Still can't determine if that radiator is leaking. I think it is. So knowing that there's so much rust in there, knowing that the upper pipe is leaking, knowing that that flange is cracked, there it is. I think the best thing to do is to actually pull the radiator and replace the core on it. Not going to be cheap, but I think it's the right thing to do. So what I'm going to do now, since I got the hose out and I got the tractor outside in the sun, is give it its first bath in probably 3-4 decades. So I'm going to hit her with the pressure washer, and we'll see what she looks like when she's done. We'll show you, here's the ending shot, and then I'll start with this shot here. So stay tuned. Well, I'd be lying if I said it looked great, but I didn't really expect it to. I really just wanted to get some of the dirt and grime and some of the grease buildup off of there, so I hit it with some soap and some degreaser, and I mean, you can see, you know, some of this stuff is still pretty built up on here, but it really needs a steam cleaner. That would do good. But I did get a lot of the oily residue off and a lot of the buildup, so it is looking a bit better. You can see some of the paint is fading even more now that I hit it with some degreaser, but that's to be expected. So I'm gonna let this dry out a while, and then we'll come back and see what we'll do next. Well, folks, I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to end the video here and make this a two-parter. This is already going to be a very long video, but we accomplished the main goal, and that was to make that old girl run and move under its own power for the first time in 30-odd years. So that's a big accomplishment in itself. But in the next video, what we're going to do is make a list of all the things that need to be replaced, check it twice to make sure we didn't miss anything, see what's naughty and nice, just kidding. And then we'll go ahead and show you how to replace everything and get this tractor actually operational again so that it could actually be used for farm work or parades or tractor pulling or whatever else you may want to do with it. So I'm going to sign off now. So until then, I'll see you later.